cool.
Are you live yet?
We're live now. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's cut the music. You guys hear the music? Anyway. Welcome to This Week in Sci-Fi on Ice, or this Tuesday. And today we're reading a book called Burning Chrome, as recommended by Dean, by William Gibson. Have you got the... I can hear some
You hear yourself.
echo coming through. But alright, so this book's about two guys working in the settings in a cyberpunk world of and they're out for a big score, and for yeah like as infiltrating a software to get the cash, and then be off on their merry way. And yeah, how did you guys like this book? This story, sorry, not book, story.
Great short story.
Yeah, that's what we do every week. Short story. Do you like it, Dean? Is your... Oh yeah, sorry, Corey.
Yeah, I am a fan of William Gibson. I read the Scroll trilogy, and I think I read this after Wids as part of a collection, his collection, Burning Chrome, and yeah, it's just like that world. I love it. It's lots of good things. Dean?
I really enjoyed it. I thought he was quite good at world building. He was super descriptive of the setting and the surrounds and what was happening, and that I can almost, like, the picture I have of it in my head, I don't want to see the movie of it or anything like that, because I like the picture that I made in my head of what it looks like.
I've ruined that for you.
No, it's good. It's good. In my head, I had a lot more neon.
Oh, dude, I don't have enough time, but yeah, more neon, more neon. Yeah. All right, sorry for cutting you off.
There's cyberpunk, so
Yeah, go on.
Game.
Yeah, I've got him like in a little, the Gentleman Loser bar. I've got him like in a little diner, basically. But you know.
And a wonky sign.
Well, I don't know. I think. I mean, I don't recall.
Is that Ricky walking out the front?
Nah, Ricky's blonde. She's a blondie, but man, I got some sound at my place. Yeah. Nah, it's all just that I drew a sketch of it. Yeah, I showed Dean a sketch of it the other day. It was just, you know, but like, okay. So speaking to the world building, so I read this twice, and like the first time I read it, I couldn't, there was a jumpiness in two parts. The jumpiness between the time, like, which stage of the story is it, and then there was also jumpiness between whether they were in the software or they were, in the material world. So that the lines obviously blur there, right? And so that was in regards to the world building. And when they're in the software or talking about the programming, use a lot of sort of emotive, not emotive, so the descriptions are very sort of yeah, sort of like we would describe the material world, sort of, like obviously ICE, which is, I forget the acronym of it, like intrusive counter something, basically to stop them, right? It's like an antivirus, basically, right? But he describes it like these ice walls. You kind of get that imagery in like the fortress within this software. So that was, I quite like that. Yeah, it was, because like ones and zeros is kind of boring on the face of it, right? So it was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I read the Neuromancer a long time ago, and I was not even aware that it was part of a trilogy. But
Right.
as a standalone book, I thought that was one of the best books I've ever read, and it was. And I read it after The Matrix, and you just think, wow, how much did they rip off this
Yeah.
book? And that. Okay, so if I'm going to compare it to the book we did last week, Second Variety, rather than we were talking about kind of abstract themes, this one is really science fiction, looking into the future. This was written in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
before the internet, and just we're still not quite there yet what he's depicting, but it's a really realistic view of the future, and we are, I think, quite close. Especially, I think this story and the world that he creates in the other books really has a huge social commentary component, rather than these more kind of macro themes like we were talking about, sentient robots and things like this. But here, especially with the whole vacuous culture of the bionic eyes.
Yeah.
So if you keep reading the other books, this is a huge thing where people are just living vicariously through these things called SimStim, I think they're called. And we're already seeing that playing out today with social media, and your people sit and they just want to live vicariously, look through the eyes of the beautiful people. And I think this has always been part of life to an extent, but when you can basically put a camera in your head and people can become you, this is where we're heading. Google Glasses or whatever. But
Well, yeah, there's a lot of literature, and even in the last 20 years, there's a lot of movies that have done that sort of the what is it? The simulating like a second life, basically. The life that you want to live, and you can live for it at the price of a penny or whatever. I'm trying to think, what was that Bruce Willis movie where they just live? They live connected to basically like a virtual reality headset, but they're this perfect version of themselves. Man, we've got some nice. Pouring yourself a drink, or you're flushing the toilet.
That was just a really big cup of whiskey.
But
I don't know, but if you think of like alternate reality and stuff like that, like especially in the recent years, like Ready Player One comes to mind. And there was another one as well where you logged in and what you thought was a simulation was actually prisoners playing the fighting game for you.
right.
Who acted in it? Gerald Butler and
Well, just talk about the movie. Don't worry about the actors.
yeah, but
That
but
game.
yeah,
Yeah, I
it
know the one.
all went. They all end up, trying to expose this some kind of corporate overlord that is controlling society with what you see and what you hear. And
All right.
Sure.
Well, okay. Well, let's get to like the heart of this story, because there's sort of like it's like they just think they describe okay, so the two guys, one's Bob and one's Jack, right? Bob is Bob is like what the nerdy computer guy, and Jack's like the fix it. Like he's got the bionic arm as well, right? And he's sort of the muscle and can fix things, duo combo. But what I'm getting at is like they're like, how old are they? Like 28. Well, Bob, at least we know Bob's 28, and
yeah,
they describe themselves or him as a cowboy with like programming. and they also describe him at the end of his game, like like a professional footballer. Like, yeah, 28, you're probably at your peak or on the way out. And so like they were saying, like, trying to get their last score, and this is kind of what the story, like, the center of the story, right? Like, trying, he's a doesn't like responsibility. He doesn't really care for cash that much, right? And so it's sort of like, well, what is it? Uh, Jack concludes that it's because we sort of get the perspective of Jack, right? So we get Jack's kind of say, oh, like, woman is a thing that he wants, but
Yeah.
he keeps going to the loser gentleman bar
It's
or
it's a
gentleman
good
loser.
old fashioned heist story,
Yeah,
basically, and within this not so distant future, I think it's pretty easy
but where's the
to look
motivation
like.
though? Because like he doesn't really care for cash, but he's going for a heist. So I'm kind of, you know what I mean? Because it,
Well, I mean, they're still not, altar boys. They're still criminals, and well,
Yeah,
criminals need to make money.
I think Ego and this kid
yeah,
are like, as they allude to, a lot of these cowboys are not. They're sort of the the superstars of the street, or online they are these rebels. It's kind of cyberpunk. They are the ones uh, breaking into, fucking with the big corporations, and
mm,
uh, they they're living in the underworld basically, and they keep score,
yeah,
and really don't have huge motivation. You feel like Jack is going along for the ride in a little bit, but Bob is more. He needs to do it to feel alive, and the money probably doesn't matter so much to him either. He's doing it more for the fame, and the that's why he's right back down the gentleman loser once he's um, walked out of there alive,
yeah,
looking for the next girl and the next score, and he probably gets uh, a major inherent thrill out of it.
All right, let's on
Thrill
that.
of the chase.
Let's talk about the structure of the story, because like at the beginning and like the first time, like, my first read through it, didn't realize it. There was a few keywords that kind of says, actually, this is the end of the story that you're sort of reading at the beginning, because he says, we were about to become, was it like we were partners basically, or and so it sort of starts at the end, and then you sort of notice the jumping around this, there's some obvious times when they talk about the hang gliding incident where his arm gets burnt off, but
Jack is a
yeah, and but there's also sort of like a theme of time, because 28, uh, also the whole story happens in quite a short time, even though they mention things a long time ago. But from the beginning of the basically the story is like Carrie starts from the beginning when they start the hack to the end where he buys the ticket to. Ooh,
rappers who get their faces tattooed up with like prison tats or whatever, and I would say 999 out of 1,000 don't
Make it, yeah.
don't make it. But this is, you have to kind of be in the fashion in order to give legitimacy to yourself. And I think, yeah, like it's a real social. It's amazing how it was written 30, 40 years ago, and it's still not quite played out yet. But you see, it's going to happen. End
Yeah,
of rant.
For something written so long ago to be so on the money 40
Yeah.
years later, it's
It
it's
take
quite impressive. It's
Yeah, to me, it's just far superior. imagination than, say, Second Variety, and to build that kind of world and have it.
But
There's no holes in this story. That's all I'm saying. Like Second Variety, you have to just kind of glance over the fact it would make a probably C grade movie if it was made, when it was made into
Yeah.
real life, as opposed to Burning Chrome could probably he created a world there, an authentic one that we is authentic because it's going to happen. It is happening now. It's like Mongkok on a Friday night almost.
yeah, well, Second Variety was written, was that like 70 years ago, to be fair, right?
Yeah,
And but then
30 years before this.
and maybe story what I maybe I can see what you're saying, like from the perspective of just a story. If you take out um uh you could probably argue that maybe William Gibson had a bit more sort of insight into what was going to happen, and and you know, and there's a lot of truths in both stories in regards to sort of the advancement of technology and I guess the role that it plays, well, or the detrimental roles that they play in our lives. But yeah, no, but I definitely can relate to this story as being, you know, and okay, wait, let me go back. The Second Variety was wrong because we didn't go to the nuclear war, which everyone was worried about with the Cold War, right? So that didn't happen. So and in defense of Philip K. Dick, well, you know, like that was just what they talked about, so it was normal, and you know, why not
Mm.
write about that? So that's okay. But yeah, I think William Gibson definitely has a better take on what that world is going to look like, and in the age of Bitcoin, it's looking like that. Although I'm definitely out of touch with the criminal side of things.
Yeah, I think one obviously has to look at the time when these books were written, and the, I mean, just the base world that's available to those authors at that time.
Mm.
Um, and then you just kind of scale it out from there. Like if this was written 70 years ago, and they're thinking, for still another 100 years ahead of where we are now, then that's quite impressive. But
Mm.
uh, but but yeah, I suppose
Don't
when they're taking themes that are in their present day and they're just extrapolating that onto a future universe, then
what he does really well is he's in the digital realm already. Like William Gibson is writing there, but it's tape. Like his reality in the 80s was tape cassettes and records. And how many old science fiction stories do you read? And they're like, and then went up to the mega computer and shoved in the tape cassette, and he avoids all those shortcomings of a lot of the old writers, where he just avoids talking specifically about the he doesn't talk about these things like tapes, because a lot of the old writers didn't have that foresight to say, oh, of course there's going to be another type of um, well, I guess computers were already around at that stage, whereas maybe Philip K. Dick um, was pre-computer, so he probably had no inkling at that stage. So it's quite easy to get dated in science fiction when you're talking about tape cassettes and record players.
Well, I think that's a good point, and for me, I was more focused on the fact that it was software based. I was thinking more, and maybe the Matrix was helping me think about because of the Matrix ripping them off, and but you know, you couldn't help but think about that. But yeah, the fact that it was software, and so therefore it was timeless. So even though there's just so much that we know about that William Gibson didn't know back then, he's still alive, right? But
Hmm.
but yeah, it was just I was just thinking in terms of software, so that was quite that was I thought that was quite good in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't recommend Neuromancer highly enough. I mean, that just is a wild. Even if you don't read the whole 3 books, that is just this short story on a complete another level, and it opens up so much to. They touch on it on the fake eyeballs, and the burning that Chrome has, hormonally stopped her aging, but they look into the dynasties of these families who put themselves in cryo chambers, and every generation they'll take turns to get thawed out, and mega wealth of single families and synthetic organs, and the point where bodies can be, if you do go blind, they replace your eyes, or there's they can resynthesize your liver if it if you drink
Well,
That thing's
if you
broken.
drink too much and things like this.
Dean, I want to get Dean. You've got that game, Cyberpunk, right?
Yeah.
I want to get your take on the game because I haven't played since we last talked about it, which is I don't know 4 months ago. Um, yeah, what have you got any reflection on like the game? You know the because I'm sort of seeing it from my like 5 minutes of playing the game. You know the
Well, it definitely brings in that aspect of consumerism of self, where you know what,
like
you don't need to
upgrades.
do anything for yourself. Yeah, like you're not happy with your eyes, go buy some new eyes. You're not happy with with what your genetics gave you. That's not a problem. Just go and buy a new part. Like taking like healthy limbs and then just replacing them with chrome, and um, things like tattoos aren't such a big thing, but actually the tech that you're displaying on your body.
So when like as humans, when did we first start doing this? What was the first, like upgrade? Is it silicon? Am I right? Is that the first?
Well, I mean, if we look at it like just where we are now in science and I want to say like sci-fi, like real life, with Elon Musk and that neural link,
Right. Okay.
the little chip that he wants to put in your skull
Who wants
to
to like
connect damaged parts of your brain.
right, yeah.
Um, I mean, that is, and I mean, he's made it.
That's
It's not
scary,
like
but
it's
I'm
this
very
future
yeah.
plan. Like he's actually made it,
Yeah,
and
I'm okay, go on.
yeah, it's crazy. I
I,
can't
Has he
remember who was
installed it in
showing.
himself?
No, but he's installed it in
His
some test
baby.
subjects. Oh, his baby's screwed. He's
What's his baby's name like?
oh,
CY32X or
it's something
something
like
like
that.
this.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a like a like traditional name in any language, shape, or form.
Uh,
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 I want to say it's like leet speak or something. Um, but yeah, there was a video of a monkey playing Pong, like old school Pong,
yeah.
right.
and he's playing it with this Neuralink,
Wow.
and no hands. Like, so they got him started by playing by hand with the controllers, and then eventually no more hands, and he's just playing with his mind.
Yeah,
And I
that
was like,
Damn.
we're there. We're knocking on the door of all the sci-fi that we've had for the last 30 years. Like that stuff's going to be stop being sci-fi and start turning into science fact.
whoa.
Sure. I mean, if it's just electrical impulses, if in order to create an action, like think about an orange, and then you can move the pong, like if a monkey, maybe think about a banana, and the you can move the pong racket to the left. His kid's name is X Ash A12. You can call him X or just A12 or
Or
Ash,
just
I
Ash.
suppose. Yeah.
It's gonna be a rapper.
His
That's gonna
wife
be
is
one weird cat. That
But wait a
Elon
minute.
Musk.
Okay.
His IQ is estimated as 155.
But so the potential with that technology is, and I think was it you, Corey? You said before that like repairs, it's gonna repair like the neuro links in your brain. So because you know like old people like what are afflicted by um what's that word for decay, like entropy or something, I don't know. No, decay, just decay, like getting old, right? But if you like all of a sudden old people can like reconnect all of these neural links, and also all of a sudden I don't know, is there other potential? What does that mean? It's like I can only think of like bad guys from movies taking advantage from this, but yeah, no.
Well, the sooner I don't have to fucking text with my fingers, the better. Like, I think that's the next step. We have a crude form of telepathy right now. It's called WhatsApp,
Yeah,
and soon we'll just be like, we think it, send it.
man.
yeah.
I like apparently in India, the shamans just like do it with their mind. I think they've already done it. I'm just saying.
What do you mean?
Well, I know there's like a they've done like the spiritual pathway to connect their minds like through distances. I don't have the
According to them, and they're just like fucking snake oil salesmen. Those dudes.
I don't want to connect
uh
my mind to somebody else's. I want to connect my mind to my tech,
I
To
don't
your
know.
what?
You
to the tech that I have.
Oh, I thought you said your dick. I could. Mine's already connected.
That thing's doing its own shit.
I lost control of that a long time ago.
Finally, man has mind control over his penis.
It
Watch
only
out.
took us 2,000 years.
Finally, we can re-enslave women.
Good boy. What's it? What's the good boy, Rex? Good boy. Aye. What are they?
Yeah,
Um.
two minds, but only enough blood to run one of them.
Okay. Well, okay. Here for me, the last thing I want to say about the story was that I I definitely felt I still kind of felt troubled by the motivation of the story. Although I definitely agree, the story, the world building was good, and there was a lot of I guess pretext for what's ahead of us, that we should think about these well, no, actually not that we should think about that this kind of world presents these sort of I don't know, this sort of narrowing of these sort of cities, because they sort of want to get, I don't know, the whole, I felt like there was a vibe of wanting to get out of this city, even though they were 28. Well, I don't know about Jack, but Bob was 28, right? So like it was sort of do the deal, even though okay, at the end they go back to their old shtick. But this is kind of like, I guess, where I want to talk about a downer in the story was that, yeah, I think the Corey, what's the word that we learned in like emotional center? I reckon there was a little bit lacking in the whole motivation. Maybe I'm a stickler for this, but I sort of feel
No,
sort of
I would agree. Like, at the end of the day, it's kind of just a little bit of a, as you say, love triangle heist
yeah.
story. It's not an earth shattering plot. It's quite small, but it is. I mean, I think the foresight and just the world that he builds, as Dean
Mm,
says, the world is amazing. The probably predicting the future for a science fiction writer, he's kind of bang on right there.
mm,
And in terms of that, the pure like science fiction aspect is
yeah.
pretty amazing. Um, you don't have huge like themes involved like we saw with the last
Mm,
story, but to make up for that, I feel like the science is there, and it's really that's the star of this story, not the actual story.
Yeah, so in second variety, like they were thrusted into this situation which they had to deal with, whereas in this one they're sort of making their own trouble. Whereas right, like they could just carry on and
Yeah,
do.
I mean, second variety was the fate of humanity, and it is the world. Human species is about to die. That's a
Bruce
lot of
Willis Armageddon is all I'm saying.
yeah. There's huge risk, um, and weight on that storyline. Whereas this is just a couple of dudes. We
Yeah,
get
man.
a glimpse into their little lives, basically in the ghetto of the future.
I All right. I'm probably gonna end it, but I want to I want to explore the idea of the bar. I kind of felt like I sort of felt like the one thing I felt interesting was because Bobby was like a programmer. I just couldn't associate like a drinker. No, sorry, a programmer with drinking, because it's like as a programmer to do that kind of thinking and that kind of work. I've done a 101 university computing and I sucked at it, but C's, you get past it, right? Like I wasn't. It's very difficult to do computer programming for me, and so the idea of being able to drink alcohol and do computer programming, nah, just I just don't buy it. And
He wasn't doing programming in the bar,
no, I
and he
know, but
wasn't.
yeah, but it's one of those things where you sleep, you wake up, and then you go back. And these kind of people, right? These
Yeah,
nerds that.
but the Gentleman Loser is a place for networking, and you have all the bad sorts guys
Yeah,
doing deals. It's more like an HQ for um, that whole scene that he's in, and so they were doing a whole bunch of other drugs as well. Like,
yeah, yeah, and I guess like in the movie The Matrix, what's the bar they go to in at the big in the first Matrix? They that happens in the Matrix as well, and it carries the story. Like I guess it makes it interesting, right? But I just from the programmers that I know, they don't go to bars and they network online, right? They know each
mm,
other. They know each other through osmosis, whatever you know what I mean, like online, and uh, and I guess like as soon as a programmer starts drinking, like they're programming like their min max, like they go down in their ability to program or to be up to date with like whatever the new virus thing that's happening and how to get around it, or because yeah. So and I mean I guess that is maybe another hole in the story where I sort of felt it made it interesting that they did
yeah,
that, and for me as a non-programmer I liked it because I could relate to it personally, but I sort of felt I don't know if programmers
they have hardware to exchange as well, and they gotta get a route, right? So this is
well there's
everyone.
Jack's the hardware guy, right? Or I don't know.
Yeah, but swapping hardware, selling it, you can't do that online. So
True,
then
yeah.
this is the Gentleman Loser is the place where people do deals, whatever deals you want, and
Mm.
I, you feel like it is just one spot where these cowboys go and deals
Sometimes
are
you
done.
just gotta wet your whistle.
That's right.
I,
When talking about the drugs, though, the neuromancer um, goes into kind of deep with
mm,
people who hook into these online environments and just taking speed and just for hours and hours on end, just tapped into the online environment, and so maybe not alcohol, but they're doing drugs to keep them going
right.
and
Good
and
point. Yeah.
keep them coding things like this, booze and speed and
Maybe
yeah,
some LSD.
Hey, I want to ask about the Waldo. Is that what it's called? W-A, like where's Waldo? Where's Wally? But it's the what is he calls it like a remote device that so the Jack, right? And like when he takes his arm off, he talks about the Waldo. That was a thing. That was one thing that I sort of struggled to understand what what that does. You guys help me out.
I can't.
What, like the little rig that he puts his arm back onto, or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the
yes.
the
When he
like the
takes his
jeweler's vice that he locks the program onto?
that's yeah, that's not the Waldo. That's the Jeweler's Vice. The with the Russian software. But the no, yeah, no. That where he takes his arm off and he puts it into the. It's called the Waldo, right? He calls it. When I read it the second time, I was because the first time I read it, yeah, I was like the Waldo. I was like, oh, he just drops it in so casually, but it and then he keeps talking about, it, and then he's playing with his metallic arm, and it's a short story, so he just kind of pushes through with the story. But yeah, Nadine, you got what? Can you help me out a bit more with that?
It's probably just a calibration cradle that it fits into.
So he takes his arm off and then he puts it into the Waldo, right? Okay, okay,
Yeah, they can
okay.
probably run diagnostics on it and
Yeah, it kind of.
make sure he's not putting too
Mm,
much torsion on the old one-armed grip.
okay, last thing I want to talk about is the fact that they pull off the heist. Because you sort of think that I don't know. At the beginning, I thought like this story was going to be about like the chaos that ensues after trying to pull off a heist, like, because the Chrome is is supposed to be this all-encompassing mega fortress, and it's like, but I wasn't convinced that they were going to um overcome it and then succeed in their goal. Have you guys got any takes on that?
Um, it was risky, right?
Yeah,
Like we knew that from the beginning, and Jack. It was a coming together of just timing. I
well, I
think
mean,
just
let me rephrase it. Sorry, like, what was the cost of it? Because I sort of felt like they got the money in the end. Like what was the cost of the mission, even though they succeeded?
well,
Well,
they
it was
could have
do or
died.
die. Yeah, it was you either pull it off or you're dead.
So it was a happy ending. Can we say that?
It was
An ending.
poignant. Jack didn't. Jack was probably all along was the only one who was possibly going to do okay out of it, and you get the feeling he's mentally equipped to
Yeah.
like sit back with the money and go that's me. Bobby's gonna keep doing what he's doing.
Mm,
Ricky's possibly dead or somewhere in Chiba
mm.
doing pornography, or you'd
Yeah, some
hate to
kind of
think,
snuff film.
yeah, like she's probably one of the nameless people who have tried to make it and didn't, and Bobby goes on to possibly not be so lucky next time. You get the feeling.
Yeah, I reckon that wraps it up quite nicely. So shall we mosey on to the give this story a score?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. I'm gonna pull up my little. By the way, this is gone. This is not live at the moment. We're still recording, but it's I don't know. So I had something happened before, but let's go over to my little Excel sheet and let's final thought. I feel like we've given our final thought, so let's just go to our scores. Oh yeah,
I'm gonna give this one.
yeah.
Yeah, you wanted to say something, Stephen?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go first.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go. I Yeah, I like this story a lot. I liked I mean I'm a big fan of cyberpunk, and I mean look at my little skull face. I'm like a skull cyberpunk logo guy, and if my kids get old enough quickly, I'll have time to play the game Cyberpunk, and that'd be wicked cool. And but there were a few like sort of holes in regards to sort of like the takeaways from the story. Like I wish there could have been more imparted with I guess the motivations of Bobby and Jack. And I mean look, it is a short story, but uh at the beginning of the story it talks about how like, oh yeah, like you know I think there's a line that says like, like we were a partnership, and then the story starts like that, and so I felt like the story should have been like about how they broke up, but at the end you didn't like if like Bobby had found out that Jack had like slept, and like you saw the tension between them while they were doing like the heist like that. I reckon that just would have been pretty wicked. But I'm gonna go with out of a score out of 500, 429 is gonna be 429 is my score, and let me. How do I do this? I gotta go Steven's score. Oh yeah, here. What? Oh no, I gotta save it. Save. Probably should just wait until we all do our score and then. Uh, Sweet, done. All right, I'm done. Score done. Uh, Dean, you're up.
I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give it a 450.
450. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
That is a high score.
Uh,
because I think it ticks all the boxes for what it's supposed to be. For it being sci-fi, short story, I think it's bang on.
Yep, it ticks all the boxes. I just thought, as Stephen said, it's a little light, kind of melodramatic storyline, but I still give it 4.25. And I'm a massive William Gibson fan. So, like, Neuromancer is a precursor to that world, and that is, out of any genre of fiction, up there. One of my top books I've ever read. So, it is definitely a must read for anybody who wants to read a good science fiction novel.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, let me see if I can sort out this aggregate. Oh. I gotta change this. The aggregate scores come out with decimals. Man, what? How do you get rid of decimals on a Excel? Where do I go? Something like. Man, I did it every other time. You guys good at Excel? How do you change right?
Cell value, format cell.
Oh, cell. Yeah, I'm looking at. Okay, cells, format, boom, format cells. Okay, yeah, I got it. I got it. There's a little box coming up.
Just
Yeah.
write them down on a piece of paper.
I got it. What? And then take a photo of it. Okay, I got it. I got it. It's all. It's done.
It's very science fiction.
We're on Microsoft Excel. This is.
Well, you mentioned the Indian yogis, so why don't you just send it to us via your mind? I promise I'll receive it.
Well, if you give me some. Oh, American Indians. All right, man. All right. How about some trumpets? And let me. Yeah, let's have some trumpets. All right. You've sat through all of that rubbish talk about Burning Chrome by William Gibson, and the total aggregate of our scores is. Wait. Oh wait, that's the wrong one.
415.
435. That is our top score.
That's good.
It's very high. 435. Epic. Okay. And next week, the book. Corey, you're gonna recommend the book for next week.
Yes,
Go on.
I have a compilation of Kurt Vonnegut short stories, and I thought I'd choose one from that. There was a few science fiction ones in there, and it was hard to choose, but I thought I'd go with something a little bit um, humorous
Yeah.
for a change. And the name of the story is Harrison Bergeron.
I think it's a French name, the surname.
Well, there's no little dashes. Bergeron.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Why would it be French?
It's just a French name.
But and it's American writer.
Yep.
Bergeron. Bergeron, however you
Bergeron.
want to say it.
He's a famous settler in Canada. It's the family name, so it's definitely French or Quebecois or something like that. Like the name is, but that's another conversation. Let's not get
All
there.
right. If you want to Americanize it, say Bergeron. If you
Yeah.
want to be a wanker, you can say Bergeron. Up to you. The name of the book is Harrison. Bergeron.
I love it. All right.
Bergeron.
Bergeron.
All right. Harrison Bergeron next week by our friend Kurt Vonnegut. Yeah. I've only read one of his books, Slaughterhouse-Five. That's all I've read.
Yeah. He is one of my faves. But he writes some good short stories too. There's a few science fiction ones. It was hard to choose, but I thought, I don't know, this one has another. I like the social critiques, so maybe he's looking maybe less tech, more looking at the social environment in the future.
Sweet. I like the way he has that very talkative, like he's talking to you while he's writing it. I like he's got that kind of ability, the way he writes, his writing style. That's my take, yeah.
Well, there's a couple of other ones. One about when human populations start to be able to leave their bodies and
Right.
like get rid of their bodies, and there's a big dichotomy between humans, the ones who want to stay in their bodies and the ones who want to leave, and there's like a war going on. And then there's this other one which I was almost going to choose, where they have this gel which is you can rub on and basically you live forever, but that just has caused overpopulation. So it's a lot. His books are pretty hilarious. It'd be good to choose one which is not a dystopian future.
What if everyone's got the gel on, but they're all fighting each other? Like, do they just die or?
Oh, I think you can still die. It just doesn't. You just don't age.
Okay, yeah. Sweet. All right. That's a lot of tapping, and that means it's the end. The tapping. That's the drumming out of our session. See you guys next week.
See you next
All right.
week. Cheers, cheers.
It's been a
Bye-bye.
pleasure.
Bye.
See ya.